Hello and welcome. In this video, we're going to give you an introduction to Canva, a free-to-use online graphic design tool. There are so many reasons that you might want to use Canva. Here are just a few of the things you might want to create. Social media posts, flyers, event programs, business cards, greeting cards, photo books, brochures. It's a one-stop shop for all your graphic design needs. If you haven't already, sign up for an account. Go to www.canva.com and click Sign Up. A free account is more than enough for most people to get started. Premium extras include access to more graphics, photos, video and audio, more templates, a brand kit, resizing of designs, and social media scheduling. Before you start your first design, you should get familiar with your Canva dashboard. From here, you can access templates, create new projects, and find your existing designs. Your home screen will show ideas for you and your most recent designs. Select Projects to access everything you've created. All Projects is where you access all your designs, your folders and images, along with designs shared with you. Templates is where you'll find ideas and inspiration. In here, you'll find ideas for all your designs. There are thousands to choose from. And of course, you can also use filters to refine your search. You can also access templates from this area, for example, social media posts. You can create a blank canvas of the correct size, or you can choose from ready-made templates that you can edit to suit. One of the great things about Canva is its huge library of templates. You never have to start from a blank canvas or be stuck for ideas, but it can be overwhelming to scroll through thousands of ideas. So how do you go about choosing a template or even just a canvas size? First of all, keep in mind whether you intend to print your document or use it online. You also need to know whether there are any size restrictions or specific requirements for your document. You can choose a template that will determine your canvas size for you. So, for example, an 18 by 24 poster or a 1080 by 1080 Instagram post. Or you can choose to create a custom sized canvas for a specific purpose. Using the templates, even a blank canvas, ensures that you create graphics that are the correct and optimum size for their intended use. But how do we go about choosing a template? Let's start by looking for a birthday card. So you can see we have a lot of templates there. In fact, we've got over 4,000 of them. So we're going to use some filters. Let's start with a landscape 7x5 birthday card. We are going to choose happy cards. Let's take a look at what else. We want a greeting card. We want to get some happy birthdays in there. And let's choose yellow. That's a nice happy color. Now you can see that we have lots more ideas that follow our filter settings. The Pro templates, the ones with the little crown, you can't use with a free account, but you still have plenty of ideas in there in yellow happy birthday cards. Now, of course, we have to choose one of our templates. So let's take another look and pick one. Let's select this one. The next thing we would do is customize that template. Now we're going to look at a couple of other ways that we can find templates. There are several different routes that we can take to narrow down our template options. So we're going to head back to templates on our sidebar menu. And the first thing that you're going to see when you do that is suggested themes of templates up at the top here. These are always quite seasonal. It's a mix of seasonal options and the kind of most common searches that they're seeing currently. So as you can see, we're recording this video in December. So our first theme options are winter and holiday and Christmas. But we've also got birthdays in there and colours that are clearly popular at the moment, school templates, thank you notes, etc. So we can use this to narrow down. And if we select one of them, let's go with holiday, you can see we've got holiday templates in there. Now, obviously, we've got over 100,000 templates to choose from there, so we're not going to scroll through all of those. So we do need to start adding filters in again and looking at ways of narrowing down those templates. So now we're going to look at another way that we can narrow down our template designs. We're going to use these filters over on the left-hand menu. These are more theme-based in terms of the type of template that you might be looking for. So we could look at business templates. We're going to have things like presentations, business cards, flyers in there. In our social media, we'd have Instagram posts, stories, Facebook posts. This means that we're getting the right canvas size to begin with. Education, video, we've got all sorts of resources in here. Let's take a look at marketing this time. We've got business cards, flyers, logos, posters, brochures. Let's take a little look at posters. So now we're into our poster templates, like dashboard. And again, we have various topics along the top, themes for designs that you might be looking for. It's quite a selection of ideas there. And we can also start setting lots of filters. We can look at them all together as we've seen before, or we can take a look at in here in some of the quick links, whether that's the format, again, the size of it that we're looking at, the style of the template. We've looked at these before, minimalist, corporate, modern templates. Our themes, is it a product that we're looking at? Is it fashion, sales, beauty? And again, our colors as well. Features is things like if they have animations and video in them. Now, obviously, if we're looking at print products, we don't want animations or video, but if we are looking at creating something for social media, then maybe we do want to create a video. And so it's quite handy there to get a starting point on those. So we have over 100,000 templates, again, if we're looking at our poster templates. So let's narrow this down just a little bit so that we can let's look at corporate templates. Let's go for a theme that is, let's look at, I don't know, in here, we've looked at events before, so let's look at educational templates. And let's see what we've got in there. Narrowed down to 221, so that's a good starting point. And we can start having a flick through those to find, again, the template that most closely matches what we're looking for, the one that we like, that we can use as a basis for our design. Remember, you can always delete things from templates. You're always going to be able to fully customize them. So you're really just looking for the best fit and starting from not a blank sheet of paper, which we know is always overwhelming and can be hard to know where to start. Lastly, if you know exactly what type of canvas you're looking for, we can go directly to this create a design option. And here we can choose the specific size of canvas that you're looking for. So in this case, let's look at an Instagram post. Once you click that option, you will have a new design open with a blank canvas, the correct size for the project that you want to work on. You can either start from scratch and create your own design within that canvas, and we'll touch on how to do that later, or you can insert a template directly into the canvas within the design. Again, you'll have your seasonal options, you'll have some recently used, and then you'll have lots of other templates that you can choose from. So again, as I say, seasonal, so let's choose winter this time. And perhaps you wanted to post a Hello December Instagram post at the beginning of the month. So let's select that Hello December template, and then we can edit that to choose our colors and our fonts, maybe even change the picture if we wanted to, but we've got our basic template there to use. Once you summarize what we've just covered, Canva is an online graphic design tool. A free Canva account is good enough when you're starting out. Choosing the right canvas size for your design is really important. And Canva has thousands of templates to choose from so that you never have to start from a blank canvas. When you first open a design in Canva, you'll see your canvas, and you'll also see various menu options around the screen. We're going to start by taking a look at the items in the left-hand sidebar menu. Before starting a design, you need to learn your way around the primary design menu, which includes design templates, graphic design elements, text options, brand kit, which is a pro feature, your own uploads, drawing tools, access to your projects, and access to add-on apps. Everything you could possibly need to create awesome designs. Let's start with design. From here, you can access the same library of templates as you can from your main Canva dashboard. You can search by theme, topic, or keywords. So we'll take a look at that first. So we're going to select design from our sidebar menu. I have chosen a flyer sized canvas for this part of the video. And so the templates that we will be offered will be suitable for that shape and size of canvas. I won't go into too much detail here. We've covered how to search and filter templates earlier in the video. However, I will point out the styles in here. This allows us to start to think about how we might narrow down the type of templates that were offered. So let's see what happens when we search for lively and we go back to templates, and you can see that we're starting to see things that have brighter colors in them. They're a more lively template. If we go back to styles and we clear lively, and let's take a look at vibrant and go back to our templates, and again we're starting to see much brighter templates. If that's what you were looking for, it helps you again to narrow down your templates. Next, let's look at elements. From here, you can access a huge library of graphic design elements, from shapes to graphics, to photo frames and grids, to video and audio clips, stickers, photos, tables, charts. The library of elements is huge. Now let's take a look at the elements menu and see what we can see in there. As always, at the top, there's some quick links to things that people search for often. We can do an element search if we know exactly what we're looking for, whether that's a bokeh effect for something or a Facebook icon. We'll always have recently used at the top, things that you've used before. It gives you a quick access back into graphical elements that you've already used that you might want to use again. Then we start to look at all the different types of elements that are in there. So we have shapes. Let's look at them. As you'd expect, we have lines, and then we have a number of shapes. We can use these in our designs, and we can edit them to suit. If we go and look in graphics, again, we have some recently used. We have some suggested things that we might be looking for. As always, they're seasonal. Quite often we'll see some featured images. They might be promoting a new designer that they have that's created graphics. There's often some quite nice little bits and pieces in here that you can use in your designs. There's backgrounds, there's stickers. So a lot of these are animated, which allows us to add a little bit of movement if we're making social media posts, for example, or something for a website. There are collections. These are topical. Some of them are based on events. Some of them are based on the types of things that people might be looking for quite often, like in this one, foliage. What else do we have in here? So that's our selections. And as I say, if we start to search, say we wanted a neon sign for something, we can start and we can find neon elements. If we search for a gift, say that's seasonal, isn't it? There we'll have graphics, but we'll also have photos, which is very useful. So sometimes we might want to add a photo into our image, particularly if we want something that has a transparent background. Can be quite handy for our designs. So that is in our shapes and our graphics, and a little bit on how to search. There is a photo library in here. If we don't know what we're looking for, if it hasn't come up in a search, we can go and take a look. Again, trending items. Some of these are free to use. Some of them will be available to pro users only. So just keep an eye out for the little crown in the corner of things. Let's take another look. There are some short video clips that you can use, kind of like stock video, if you were creating something and you just needed a little piece of suitable, appropriate video to go in there. There is audio, and again, audio and video and all of these things have free elements and then have ones that are only available to pro users. Charts allows us to create charts if we want to. If we're doing a design, and we can actually add the numbers there. So say we were doing a report on something and we wanted to report back some figures, we can add charts and we can enter the data in here, and then we can customize them, change the colors, etc., to suit our branding and our the overall styling of our design. Let's go back in here. We've done charts, tables. Similarly, we can add tables in there if we want to. The next two here, frames and grids, are interesting, and I'll talk about them a little bit more. Frames allow us to add a shape to add a photo into. We'll come back to photos later, but our frames and our grids are for inserting photos into. In frames, we're going to have lots of different shapes that we can add, either single or occasionally multiple photos into. It allows us to do things like mock-ups. There we have a little lap computer screen that we can add a screenshot of our website into, for example. And then they have some fancier ones. We have paper here, we have flowers. So all of these are frames for photographs. The difference between frames and grids is frames are, for the most part, a shape with a single image, occasionally 2 or 3 images. It's like a film strip or something. Grids are to allow us to lay out multiple photographs in a design evenly so that we can make sure that they line up and that they're in place how we want them to be. They're a very useful way of getting clean grids of images in a design. And you can see we've got multiple layouts here that we can use depending on what we're looking for. And we can always resize them. They will default to the size of your screen, but we can change the size of them. And we'll come back to how we manage and manipulate the elements that we drop in later on in this video series. And I think that is everything in Elements. There is a huge amount in here. We saw collections earlier. There's a huge amount of graphical elements in here that we can choose. So we can create some pretty incredible designs. And once we start to learn more about how to manipulate those graphical elements, we can come up with some very cool designs. Next up is text. Canva has a fantastic library of fonts. It also has many suggested font pairings and styling ideas to help you in your designs. While many of the fonts are only available in Pro, there are plenty to choose from in the free version. So let's look at text. At its simplest, we can just add a heading, add a subheading, add a little bit of body text. You can see I've added a heading here to get us started. Or we can look at their library of suggested font pairings. These can be very useful if we haven't really worked with fonts before and we want some ideas of fonts that work well together. If we aren't starting from a template, but we're starting from a blank canvas and we want to get some ideas, obviously these are fully customizable. We can change the wording, but they do give us a good idea of what fonts might work nicely together in our designs. The reason I've added a heading here is that I just very quickly want to show you the list of fonts that we have. We'll come back to how we actually edit text and all the things that we can do with text. But for now, I just want to demonstrate the menu of fonts. So you can see some of these are pro fonts, but there are plenty of fonts that are free to use for everyone. And there are lots of ways that we can search for fonts and choose fonts. So as I say, we'll come back to that later, but just to give you an overview of the text option in the menu. We can upload our own media to use in our designs, whether that's photos, screenshots, video, or audio clips. We can then add these to our designs, editing to suit. So let's take a quick look at our uploads area. Very simple to upload files as you would expect. We can browse on our computer and we can upload any photos or images that we have there. We can also connect to our Google Drive, Dropbox, Facebook, Instagram, Google Photos if we want to. Once a photo or a video or an audio clip is in there, we simply select it and it drops it into our image. We'll come back to photo editing later in the video as there's more that we can do with photos. But for now, this is where you upload own files. Brand. Brand's only available for pro users, and it allows you to add your logo, your colors, your fonts, which makes it easier to access these when you're creating branded designs. Draw allows you to mark up designs freehand into sketch ideas. There are some neat tricks that you can use to turn wobbly drawings into something smoother. So let's take a look at Draw. We have various pen types in there that we can use. We have a highlighter, we have the option to change colors, change the thickness of the line. Let's draw a line. There we go, that's what it looks like. If we draw a square, however, and we want it neater, we hold for a second and look, it turns into a square. And we can do the same thing with a circle. Let's summarize what we've covered in this part of the video. Canva has a huge library of graphics and fonts, and a free account gets you access to plenty of these elements. You can upload your own media, photos, videos, etc. And learning how to edit and manipulate these elements, images, and text allows you to create great designs. Now we're going to look at editing text. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a simple text box in here. Let's call it editing text. And there we go. We've got some text on there. I'm going to get rid of this pane so that we have more space to work in. You will notice here that I have a blue box around the canvas. This allows me to change the background color of the canvas, for example. But then if I click into the text, the blue box moves to be surrounding the text. That shows me what my active element is in the design, and it makes sure that I'm editing the correct thing. You'll see this little floating menu here. Magic Write, that's to do with AI. We're not going to touch on that in this video, but we can easily duplicate from in here, and we can also delete from in there. Now let's select my text again, and you'll see that we have a full menu bar up here that's specific to editing text. If we had selected a graphical element, we'd have a slightly different menu bar here, and similarly if we'd selected a photo. First up is our fonts. We can change our font to whatever we want, and then we can alter the size of it. We can do that with a drop-down menu. We can fine-tune using our plus and minus, and we can also simply drag the text box to change the size of it. Okay, that's helpful if we're trying to line text up with a specific graphical element. It gives us the ability to fine-tune. We can also change the color. So let's say that we select our SDM red. Now that was a good thing to see because there I'm clicked in. Do you see there's a cursor flashing there? Which means that I'm actually in text editing mode. What I need to do is click outside and click back on there, and then I can change the color of the text. So that's a good thing to demonstrate there. We can always fine tune that color. If we want to, we can change it using our fine tune control here. If we have a hex code, we can add it there. These colors at the top are the document colors. So these are the colors that have been used elsewhere in the document already. So it allows us to quickly select the colors that we've already used. Skip over brand kit because that's a pro feature. If you have any photos within your design, it will also pick out the key colors in those photos, which allows you to select the text color to match an image in your design, which is very handy. And we have some default colors down here, which are often a good starting point that we can then fine tune using our control here to add a new color to the design. Next up, we can make it bold, we can make it italic, underline, strike through. We can change the alignment. So if we just make this text box a little bit bigger so that we can see that, obviously we have left justified. We can justify fully where it spans between the margins. If we have a paragraph of text, we can justify to the right, or we can center justify. We can make this into a bulleted list, into a numbered list, and we can alter the spacing. Letter spacing basically increases or decreases the spaces between the letters. It's called the kernel spacing. It can be, again, very handy if we're trying to line up with a specific element. Our line spacing is also useful. I'm going to hit a return in here so that I can demonstrate that. Our line spacing in a paragraph, we may want to increase or decrease the spacing between the lines of text, and we can do that in here. I'm going to skip over effects and animate. We'll come back to that in our next video, which will show some more advanced editing techniques. And I'm going to move on to position. Position allows us to layer elements on top of each other. So the first thing I'm going to do is drop in another element that allows me to demonstrate that. So let's put in a box. If I now get my text box, I can put that over the top of the box. If I go into position and look at arrange, I can actually send that backwards. So I can move multiple elements in relation to each other in a layering basis. We can also look at the layers specifically, which allows us to select the element that we want to edit. See, our blue box is moving. This is useful because sometimes when we've layered elements, it can be difficult to select the element that's behind, and you might want to change the color of it or move it. And this allows us to grab any of the layers in our design. And now let's go back to editing the text. The last thing on here that I'm going to show you is the transparency of the text. We can change the opacity of the text. And this is something that we can do in many of the elements that we choose, which again allows layering effects and can be a useful tool to use when we're creating our designs. Now we're going to take a look at editing images. I've uploaded a few images already for us to play with in this part of the video. There are a few different ways of inserting images into designs, and I've mentioned a couple of them already, frames and grids, but we can also just add them directly into the canvas. So if we click on the image, it just drops the image into the canvas. The other thing that we can do is drag the image across and then drop it into the back of the image, and it drops it in to cover the canvas. We can also, as we said before, use frames. I've added a frame in here and I've added a small grid to show how this works. So again, if we drag the image across, and we can drop it into the frame. If we want to drag the images into the grid, then we can do the same thing there, and we get our images into the grids. So that's all very straightforward. What we can then also do is we can move the position of the image, and we can zoom in and out of the image, we can crop the image. So if we take a look at this one, for example, if we double click on the image, we get ourselves into the edit photo where we can crop, we can expand the image, we can move the image around within the frame, and that allows us to position our images within the canvas size or within the frame or grid size that we're using in the way that we want to do them. We can also get into that using the edit photo menu where we go edit photo and crop. We also have some ability to do some basic adjustments to our images, although I would recommend that you edit your images in another photo editing package before you upload them into Canva. If we look at the grids and the frames, again, the same thing. If we double click or we select edit photo, we get the ability to go in and reposition, move images around within the frames, make them bigger, whatever we want to do to position them correctly for us. We also have the ability, if we take a look at, let's just drop this one in here, we can flip images. Now, obviously, with something like a clock or something that has words, flipping it doesn't really work, but for other images that can work quite well. We can move them around. We can also, as we looked at before, we can alter their position, we can alter their transparency, and we can use the styling options as well. And that is, in a nutshell, how we manipulate images within our graphics. Now we're going to take a look at some other options when we're editing elements. So I am going to search for clocks. Now, when we do a search in elements, we get the option of graphics, photos, videos, shapes, as we've looked at before. If we focus specifically on graphics for now, we will get, for clocks, lots of different clocks. Now, one of the things that we're looking for here is the difference between a graphic like this, that is an image that we have limited things that we can do with, we edit them just like a photo, or a graphic like this that actually has more options for us. So for example, if we want to add a graphic into a design and we want to be able to change the colors so that it matches the rest of the branding, then we can do that with these. And we just need to look out for images that allow us to change the colors. So if we look at that, we can start changing the colors within that design. And as we go, we just change how it looks. And obviously this doesn't look great, but it gives you the idea. And we can then change all the colors in a graphic to match our designs. And that's Lastly, we are going to take a look at a few of the menu options that we haven't looked at yet. First of all, our little on canvas floating menu here. We can add page names, we can move pages around, we can hide them, we can lock them, which is good if we're collaborating on a document, allows us to make sure things can't get deleted accidentally. We can duplicate pages, we can delete them, we can add blank pages in between, and we can also add blank pages at the end of the document. This grid option down here at the bottom allows us to see all of the pages in the document that we're working on, or the design that we're working on. We can move them around in there, which can be handy if we're working on a presentation or some kind of report that we might want to move things around. We can also add, duplicate, delete, etc. from within that grid, so it can be a good way of tidying things up quickly. Next, we're going to look at this menu up here. I'm just going to go back to full page. Here we can change the document name so that we can find our designs again. If we are collaborating on the document, you will see that here. Right now it's just me. Canva does give the option of printing some of their documents directly through them, things like flyers and business cards, etc. But probably the most important thing over here is, how do I actually get my design out of Canva? And the quickest way to do that is to download it to your computer. You can choose to download it as a JPEG or a PNG, so image files, or as a PDF. You can also download movies. You can choose to download everything all at once, which if it's an image file, we'll download a zip file with each image individually in it. If it's a PDF, obviously we'll just download a multi-page PDF. Or you can select a single page and just download that as an image or a PDF. Lastly, over here in File, I'm going to just show you one thing. There's the things that you would expect over here, including whether all your changes have been saved, which you can always see up here. You see all changes saved. As long as you have a little tick in that cloud, your document is saved. Canva auto-saves as you go along, so you never run the risk of losing your work. But in here in Settings, we have rulers and guides, and these can be very useful if we want to line things up from one page to another. And we turn on the rulers, and then we simply drag guidelines in, and then that lets us make sure that on the next page, if we add another page in here, and we look at that page, we can see that those grid lines are in there, and we can make sure that everything is lining up nicely. I think that is everything that you need to know in terms of the menus for this introduction to Canva. We will come back with a more advanced video very soon and take a look at some of the more advanced editing options that we have in here. So to summarize, Canva has extensive editing options, and we can edit all of our text, graphics, and images to suit our designs. We've focused on the basic editing options here, but in our next video, we'll cover more advanced editing to expand your skills.